Well, everyone, Tucker Carlson is at it yet again, this time reliving or rehashing the moment where a demon supposedly attacked him in his sleep. And, well, if it's any consolation to that story and his behavior of late, it seems like a demon really did attack him in his sleep and has been controlling him ever since. Because now Tucker Carlson is on this very massive revisionist history sort of bent. He's very much against Israel and very much in line with the religion of Islam, as it would seem. Made quite a few videos about that now already. And also Tucker the other day, if you want to call it or look at it from the perspective of him calling out Candace Owens in the text message trend, I mean, that was like the one decent thing he's done in a very, very long time, not to focus on text messages threads, but you've got to be very careful with that even still. Like, I mean, credit where credit is due, all for that side of things. But I don't think that was really too much of like a credit moment. I think it was more just like a realization moment. Like it's a common sense sort of thing. We shouldn't just be, oh, if you are releasing text messages, that's bad. Like common sense should tell you that, right? Especially if they're private text messages, no less, which is exactly what Candace Owens did. But nevertheless, Tucker Carlson is now going on about nuclear technology and can't pinpoint the moment when it was actually invented, who invented it, and then he wants to go on about how because nuclear power was invented, it wasn't the result of humans, it was actually demons. And anyone that says otherwise is doing the bidding of demons, the ones that actually created nuclear energy or nuclear power, or they're just incredibly naive. So it's either one, either or. And keeping in mind this guy was attacked by a demon in his sleep and clawed him, and he doesn't care if anyone says it doesn't happen. It did happen, and we can't call him a liar at all. Now, it's his personal experience. I wasn't there. I don't know. Don't even know if he's telling the truth, but his track record of late doesn't seem to reveal that he is telling the truth. But nevertheless, his behavior of late does indicate someone that is possessed by a demon. So go figure. Anyway, have a watch of Tucker Carlson talk about nuclear power and nuclear technology and how, well, it's demonic. Have a watch.
No, I was on February 20th, 2023. I was attacked in my bed by a spiritual being and clawed and left bleeding and scarred. And do I understand what happened? No, of course I don't. I don't really understand anything, but that did happen to me. I don't care if people believe me or not. It did. And I think it was just a momentary glimpse of something that's happening at all times, which is, again, this war between forces that we can't see, not since we dropped the atomic bomb in Nagasaki, the second one in August of 1945, and decided that we were gods, and the God himself no longer existed. Since then, we have been a secular society, and that's why we're now being destroyed, in my view. I care about this country and what happened to it after 1945, and it's a very clear demarcation line, and it seems obvious to me that nuclear weapons are demonic. There's no upside to them at all, and that anyone who claims otherwise is either ignorant or doing the bidding of the forces that created nuclear technology in the first place, which are not human forces, obviously. And let me just ask you this, which I've asked a million people at dinner parties, but never in public. What was the moment we can point to that nuclear technology was invented? You know, we can point to Isaac Newton and say, what apple fell on his head? Or we can point to Albert Hoffman in his lab messing around with the, ergot bacteria. That's when LSD was made. I've never met a person who can isolate the moment where nuclear technology became known to man. And so where did it come from exactly? Oh, German scientists in the 30s. Really, when? Name the date. And I've never heard anybody do that. It's very clear to me that these are demonic. I mean, these are evil. Their only purpose is to destroy the innocent, to murder the innocent. They've only been used once, and I think there's an interesting ethical debate about their use. Was Truman right or whatever? But if you take 3 steps back, you could say, well, wait a second. If you end up killing, incinerating tens of thousands of civilians, that's just a bad thing. Let's just be honest. That's just a bad thing. And anyone who does that is going to pay consequences. It's just true. And by the way, the fact the second bomb was dropped on the Christian population of Japan, which was majority in Nagasaki. In fact, it was sighted in on a church in Nagasaki. Was that an accident? Why Nagasaki exactly? And by the way, why has every subsequent American war resulted in disproportionately the deaths of Christians? That would include Vietnam, by the way, where the Catholic population was decimated, up to and including Iraq and Syria, now in Russia. Why is it that our use of force consistently since the end of the Second World War has been against Christians? That's been the effect, to kill Christians. The bombing of the Balkans in the 90s under NATO. Why is that? And I just don't think it's an accident. Clearly, it's not an accident.
Guys, I don't really understand anything, and then goes into this very, very long, extended monologue about nuclear power. I don't understand anything. I don't care if you think that I wasn't attacked by a spiritual being in my sleep and I was clawed. I don't care. I know it happened. It did happen. Notice the trend. Apparently, because of the bomb, the atomic bomb, and according to Tucker, humans then decided that they were gods. They wanted to play God. Apparently, according to him, society's been destroyed because of that. Society became secular once the bomb was created. You've got to be kidding me. Do you hear yourself talking, Tucker Carlson? I think you might. And you guys got to be very, very careful with listening to someone like Tucker, because he's very, very clever, isn't he? Like, he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows what he's saying. Listen to him. We became a secular society after the bomb was created, after we decided that we wanted to play gods. Not that it helped us win the war, because Japan wasn't actually going to surrender. They said they weren't going to surrender, and it could have cost, goodness knows, tens of thousands more American lives, Australian lives in the Indo-Pacific region. Because Japan, man, they were brutal. They were extremely brutal. But of course, Tucker doesn't know his history. He doesn't care about that. And he's going, why did they drop the bomb on the Christian population in Nagasaki? You know, the thing is, when they decided to drop the bombs, they wanted it to hurt enough so that Japan was on its knees. Nothing outside of the fact of dropping the 2 atomic bombs was going to make Japan surrender. They even admitted that. But of course, Tucker Carlson doesn't even know his history, does he? And he's like, oh, we don't even know when it was discovered. Can anyone point to a moment in time, a single moment? And here's what AI had to say. Nuclear energy wasn't discovered in a single moment, but evolved from the 1938 discovery of nuclear fission by Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann to the 1942 achievement of the first self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction by Enrico Fermi's team, and finally to 1951 generation of the first electricity from nuclear power. And obviously the bomb created by Robert Oppenheimer. So he was the one that was able to split the atom and cause the nuclear reaction exploding, right? People were trying to do that for a very long time. It was like a race to see whether or not Germany would get it versus America. And thank God America got it over Germany, because I think the world would look vastly different now. I don't think Tucker Carlson would be alive if Germany had gotten it and Germany had won the war. So you can thank the Americans, Tucker, even though you want to claim that they've decided to play God. They've only dropped 2 atomic bombs on civilian population, and that was for a reason. Am I saying that it was morally right? It's a hard one. It's a very, very difficult one. Because on one hand, you had innocent civilians, innocent lives that were taken as a result of the bomb dropping. But if they didn't drop it, Japan wouldn't have surrendered and more innocent lives would have been lost on our side. And now look what happened to Japan now. Look what's happened. You can't tell me that it wasn't a net positive in the long run, in the end. And sure, war's horrible. War sucks. But unfortunately, you need power. You need a show of force. in order for people to actually realize, oh, whoa, okay, there's a bigger power, a much bigger force out there that I've got to actually listen to. I've got to adhere to it. It's amazing what happens when you do a quick Google search. You can quickly and easily refute most of Tucker Carlson's claims. And this is just one of the many things that Tucker says in the video. Like, why did we choose, according to him, a church of Christians? Why do we drop them on them? Where did he get that from? Like, it seems to me when you do the research, you do the statistics, you do all that sort of stuff in Japan, during that time, sure, Christianity was around, but not a lot. And they according to Tucker, he's like, oh, they chose a Christian, predominantly Christian population, drop the bomb on. They didn't. They chose Nagasaki, and it did a lot of damage. People woke up. They realized, oh dear, Japan's emperor surrendered, gave over. But no one really talks about it. No one really talks about that side, because apparently Nazism was a lot worse versus what the emperor in Japan did and ordered. Japan killed millions of people, millions. And the ways they killed them, absolutely barbaric. But of course, Tucker Carlson won't pick up a history book and read that. Anyway, that's enough from me, but you guys take care, be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.